Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here, and now, curtain up on today's episode. Today's guest is a multiple award-winning Chicago-based performer currently nominated for her role as John Dickinson in Marriott Theatre's 1776. A Northwestern graduate, she has performed in over 100 productions in Chicagoland and around the country. Some of her most well-known roles include Nessa Rose in the Chicago sit-down of Wicked, Harper Pitt in Court Theater's Angels in America, and Dolly Levi in Marriott Theatre's Hello, Dolly. She's appeared in film and television, is a nationwide concert performer, and last but certainly not least, is the wife of actor David Girolmo. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Heidi Kettenring. Now let's go to the top of the show. Hi, Heidi. Thanks so much for joining me here at the podcast.
Hi, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. So, as is our custom here, I always like to ask our guests at the very start of each episode,
Yes.
Please give our listeners a little bit about your background, where you grew up, a little bit about your training, but most importantly, tell us about your first theater experience.
Okay. Well, my name's Heidi Kettenring. I was born in Metairie, Louisiana. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I moved to Evanston, Illinois in 1991 to go to Northwestern University. To be a radio, television, film major. And my first theatrical experience, I believe, was in the third or fourth grade. It was a musical that the nuns at my school wrote called Finding Tomorrow. And I still have the program somewhere at home. And it was Little Orphan Annie and Oliver Twist meet and go on a magical journey and meet all kinds of people. I played Dorothy Gale from Kansas and sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
That actually sounds like a really neat little concept. Like all these
It actually really was. It was like Mary Poppins was in it. She sang Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Oh God, who else was? I don't even actually remember who all of the other like guests were, but obviously they met. Like I have to pull out the program. Yeah, I have to pull out the program.
All the characters from our childhood in one mashup.
Oh, it was iconic. And I remember my brother, who never did any theater of any kind ever again. He was in The Flies with a crepe paper rainbow, and he would roll down the rainbow when I would sing about the rainbow.
And that was his only exposure, and never again.
Oh yeah. No, and like even to this day, he has seen me do 2 professional shows ever.
Okay, so A for effort, getting there.
Yes.
So you're Northwestern alum. That's how you got to Chicago, and you never left. Yep. I assume after that you graduated.
I never left. No, I came to be, as I said, a radio, TV, film major because my dad was in TV news. Okay. So I thought, well, that's what I want to do.
Sure.
And within 2 months, I think I had transferred into the theater program and finished the theater program. And actually, when I graduated, I vividly remember walking into the Barber Theater, which is the big, beautiful theater on campus. And I cried a little, and it was my last day of a show there. And I thought, well, this is the last time I'll be on a nice stage, because I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in myself. And when I graduated, I auditioned for 3 shows. And one of the experiences was pretty traumatizing. So I quit. And for 2 years, I waited tables, and I had one of those 3 auditions. It's funny that I say I quit. I didn't really. One of those 3 auditions was for HealthWorks Theater Ensemble. I don't know if you're familiar with what that was. I'll get into that. But I got that job. But it was, well, I'll get into it right now. HealthWorks was an amazing company. I believe it started as AIDS Educational Theater was its original name, I think is right.
Okay.
And HealthWorks is the name that they had until they ended sometime in the early 2000s. And they did HIV AIDS prevention plays, violence prevention plays, prenatal care plays. And we would get a schedule once every 2 weeks. And sometimes we would have no shows. but sometimes it was we would go around to schools, mostly in Chicago, and do 45-minute educational shows. And I sort of did that while waiting tables and deciding what I wanted to be when I grew up. Yeah,
But these were shows that they were rehearsed, they were ready to go. They just would send the schedule out and say, "Here's where you're doing A production, B production, C production at different schools."
absolutely. It was because it was the early 90s. So, there was still there we were just starting to learn things about the cocktail and about how people could take care of themselves. But
Yeah,
HIV and AIDS was still something that people knew very little about.
yeah.
So part of what I did, because we did a talk back after every show. Um, the main show I did was called The Wizard of AIDS, and I played Dorothy Gale.
I see a trend here. Okay.
I have done almost every version of The Wizard of Oz known to man, and I took classes at Howard Brown Health so that I could run these talkbacks for the kids after the shows, to teach them about HIV and AIDS awareness.
Yeah.
So the main one I did was The Wizard of AIDS, and as it was the early 90s, there was a show called What's So Big About AIDS, and it was a little bit more. It was like I wore like a crop top and overalls,
Mhm.
and then I did a play called Secrets that was sort of more like suburban high school kids talking about AIDS. It was a really wonderful company, and I'm honored to have been a part of that. And it really is it was my first time I ever got paid money to do theater,
So,
usually in a gym at cafetorium.
so what was your big Chicago theater show that you did like on a real stage, not a cafeteria?
Yes. Well, so after 2 years, it's sort of a two-parter.
Okay.
A dear friend of mine, my college roommate Kevin, was auditioning for the Wagon Wheel in
Mhm.
Warsaw, Indiana,
Mhm.
and he was like, You're miserable." At that point, I had left HealthWorks. I had 3 table waiting jobs. He was like, "I know you quit because you had a bad experience, but like you're miserable. What could you lose?" So I went to this audition, got cast as the lead, and like I was Guinevere in Camelot, and it was amazing. And I met an amazing person named Roy Hine, rest in peace, who was awesome. And anyway, while I was there, I met some people from Chicago, and one of them, my friend Sarah Davis, was like, they're doing. Have you ever auditioned? And I told her my whole sad story, and she said, "Well, the Drury Lane Oakbrook is doing a production of Follies, and Follies has a lot of women, and they're going to need some non-union, younger women. Why don't you just go?" And I did, and I got cast. I as young Phyllis. I met the man who is now my husband, who is sitting outside. I met the man who is now my agent, who was in the play as well. It was just sort of like literally, my life changed in almost every possible way in a 3-month little
I
period of
love
time. And
I love those stories, and I have a similar story with meeting my wife. I was doing a show, it closed, it remounted. She joined the newer company of that show, and that's how we met. But I was in the right place at the right time to get the phone call to say, "Hey, the show's going back out. Do you want to go do it?" And it
that's
was
amazing.
yeah, and we're married 25 years, and we have a son, second year of college. So like my life also is very influenced by the choices of the jobs that I took and the place that I was at the right time. And
Isn't that incredible?
yeah, truly is. It truly is. I love hearing other people's experiences that are similar to mine. Sometimes I think, oh, that was just a fluke. It was weird. No, the universe knows what
No.
it's doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's crazy when I think about that chunk of time. I'm like like there's the before time and the after time. And the after time in a lot of ways was
Yeah.
basically January of 1998. Like,
Tell me a little bit about your favorite part of the creative process. Like some people like from day one, some people really get into a character once they get the costume on. Tell me a little bit about your favorite parts of starting in the process and then to opening night.
I love rehearsal. I love it. I love almost all of the elements of rehearsal. I mean, I am I'm a planner. I'm very type A. And among the things that I love, but it can also make it frustrating, is that everybody works completely differently. So,
Mm.
like, I have worked with people like me who, I'm the person who says, "Hey, is there a way I can get my script?" And they're like, "The show's not for 2 months." Like, I know. I would like it. And then I have worked with people who do not open that script until day one. That blows my mind, but they
Yeah.
are most of them absolutely incredible performers. So for me personally, I love the before time. Like right now, I'm starting a job in 2 weeks, and I'm already off book for Act One. And for me, that's so that when I get into rehearsal, I can have a little more leeway. It's not so that I can make my decisions about this is how I'm going to do it.
Hmm.
It's so that I can make my decisions, but then I can say, you know, talk to me, tell me, let's play. And it's easier for me to play when all of the math is done,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't pick up things like choreography very well at all. It just takes me time. So if I have too many building blocks that I have to put in there,
Yeah.
that's where I just fall apart.
Yeah.
So I love rehearsal. I love sitz probe. If I'm doing a musical, I love sitz probe, which for people who don't know is when the band, the orchestra shows up and you get to hear something that you've already gotten very used to with just a piano, maybe a piano and a guitar, and you have all of these other souls making all this music.
Yeah.
Um, I love that.
Yeah.
Uh, I kind of love each element, each moment of it for its own different reason, but I really do love rehearsal because I love meeting the new people. I love this thing that you've been doing in a vacuum. If you're like me and you're doing it at home, you're doing all that pre-prep.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at somebody and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is what this feels like.
Yeah. I agree. And then that way, if something else is thrown at you that you kind of was different than how you were working on it, you're not in your book trying to, figure it all out in the moment. Like you can play. Imagine it gives you more opportunity to play in a bigger playground in which to do that
Yeah.
when the dialogue's out of the way. I mean, in the brain,
Yes.
but out of the way. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and now that
So,
I'm older too, because like when I was younger, I would like if I was working with somebody who did it day of, I would get frustrated,
yeah.
but it was just simply because I didn't, like that when you're younger, like people who don't do things exactly the way that you are, it's harder to. Now it's just sort of like, well, this is a fun challenge. I because it has to be, but also because it is, this is a fun challenge. We don't work the same. Let's figure out how to
Yeah.
create this world together because here we are.
Right. Tell our listeners some of your favorite pre-show, post-show rituals, warm-ups, cool downs, anything like that you typically do.
Sure. Well, I'm anyone who's worked with me will know I am a lozenge fanatic. I have all of the lozenges. I have so many different kinds of lozenges.
You have a favorite?
Um, I do.
Which is one?
Vocal zone.
Really?
Yes.
Those are the ones that are like mentholated, right?
Yes. Now that's part of why I love them.
Okay.
My favorite was Olba's, which was a glycerin menthol,
Yeah.
with a little sugar on it. But
Opens everything up.
they're discontinued. I can't find them, and it's the saddest thing. And those of us who were in the Olba's world, so Olba's bring back. They've got so many other things that they still make, but those glycerin Olba's, hear me, bring back your mentholated lozenge.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
But the vocal zone,
yeah.
they do have a little menthol in them. I like the black currant ones. They're tiny. They're like that big. They're concave. They stick to the roof of your mouth. So hear me out. So you can put that thing in your mouth. I usually put it in if it's a big sing, like when I just did Titanic. You stick it to the roof of your mouth, let it go down a little bit so that you're not, sort of lateral,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then it's there, and when you're not singing, or speaking, you can
Oh,
sort
my.
of suck on the lozenge, but then you can sing, and it is stuck to the roof of your mouth.
Wow. I would be so nervous it's going to dislodge and choke. I choke on it. But
That
clearly
only
you've been doing this
happened
for
to
a
me
long time.
one time. Well,
Okay.
no, these are new to me.
Oh.
That only happened to me one time during I just did a world premiere musical called Always Something There, and I had to sing Debbie Gibson's Only in My Dreams. And
Classic.
there was a day where it was like every time, it just shut down there. But for the most part, I did not do my first one on stage. I did trial runs of this.
Okay, smart.
Oh, they're amazing. And if they come dislodged in a non inopportune time, you can just then swallow it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I love my lozenges. I also
Okay.
I warm up. I do lots of vocal warm ups.
Yeah.
I'm a yoga person. So if I can do yoga before not right before a show, but before a show, that's always good.
And then do you do any sort of cool down? Some people like the cool down. Some people just get in their car and drive home after a show.
I do sort of try to remember to
Yeah.
vocally, like do the trills and stuff to cool down. But it's all I'm not a habitual warmer upper, but I do like if my voice feels tired, I will warm down even if I don't have like today my voice is tired because the show we're doing is hard. So at some point I will probably just be warming down, however you want to put it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you've been here for quite a while. You've obviously been a participant in shows and you've been an audience member, I'm sure. Tell me about any local theater experiences that have stuck with you, either being on stage or being in the audience.
Oh, I've got a couple. The first when I was a junior in college, a girlfriend of mine was in a production of The Hot Mikado with the Marriott Lincolnshire. Mm-hmm. And I had never been to any of the Chicago suburban shows. I mean, when I grew up in Nashville and we went to the theater all the time. We had season tickets to Tennessee Repertory Theater and to the Broadway series, the tours that came through. Yeah. So that's how I fell in love with theater. But when I got to Northwestern, I saw shows at Northwestern. That was it. I did not leave Evanston, really. And Nicole, my friend Nicole Roberts, was doing this show at the Marriott. And so we all went, a whole bunch of us. And I was gobsmacked. This woman is a dear friend to this day, but when I saw Susan Moniz in Hot Mikado, I was like, I have never heard anybody sing like that. I had never seen theater in the round before. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that. It was just truly, truly incredible. And being in Follies, I mean, the people that I met, my husband, and being on that stage, being on a stage of that expanse for the first time. I mean, that was when we moved from the rehearsal space downstairs to the theater. That is a moment that I will. And actually, quite frankly, just recently in 2019, and I remember that it was 2019 because the pandemic happened shortly after, I did a concert for Sondheim's birthday at the Auditorium Theater.
Oh, wow.
And
expansive stage.
Oh my God. I vividly remember I was in my green, and at this point I have done lots of stuff. And I walked out in my green ball gown and the orchestra, the Chicago Symphony Orchestra is up on stage with me. And the opening bars of Losing My Mind, it all comes full circle to Follies, started. And I remember thinking, pay attention to what is happening right now. Be fully present. Look at where you are. It was a very visceral experience that I had of like, look at where you are. Think about that day when you were, you had that horrible audition in 1995 and you were like, no, I'm just going to go down to Tucci Benucci and get a job, waiting tables. That's going to be my,
Wow.
And here I am in my green ball gown singing Losing My Mind for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra to celebrate one of the great composers of all time. Holy crap.
How fantastic. And a lot of people, myself included, forget to remind ourselves to enjoy that moment.
Yeah.
Tell me about any influential people you may have had in your life, either from school or just through any of the shows you've done, maybe even your husband. Anybody you want to throw in that mix?
He was a big one. So when I met David, I was 24. He was 40. Yes, we have a very big age difference, everyone.
It's just a number.
It's just a number. And he was so kind, first of all, like, and very interested. And I pretty quickly was like, he's interested, but he's also interested. Like, oh, this man is interested in me. This is weird, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I actually remember calling my mom, who was actually, she passed away about 6 months after this, but I called her. He and I had gone to see a play together because one day in rehearsal, we were talking about a play at the Steppenwolf that we both wanted to see.
Yeah.
And a Tina Landau play called Space. And we went to see it. But before we went to dinner, and he said something along the lines of, oh, and by the way, this is on me. And I was like, oh, this is a date. And I called my mom and was like, Mom, I think I went on a date with a 40-year-old man. Cut to, 28 years later. But it was my first show in an equity theater. I was waiting tables during the day, and he was instrumental in I had questions for him. He was either he had just been elected or he was about to be elected as a counselor for Actors Equity.
Oh.
So like any questions that I had, he had the answer to them. And he, just very, very bluntly was like, you are talented, you will work, and if you don't, you don't. But he was just a font of knowledge and support. And also I knew he had a crush on me. And there was another man in the play who I had become friends with, who is now my agent, Sam Samuelson at Stewart Talent.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
And Sam was in Follies. I was young Phyllis, he was young Buddy. And so I had been offered at the time, this was before open enrollment in Actors Equity, and you either had to join the EMC program and get a certain amount of points, do a certain amount of shows, or to do a TYA show, you had to be equity. And so I'm in my very first equity show, and I was offered a kid show at the Drury Lane by Ray Fruin. He offered me to play Fern in Charlotte's Web. And that was where a lot of my questions were. I was like, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should go equity. Nobody knows who the hell I am. And David was like, you'll work all the time. And I was like, yeah, you have a crush on me. So I went over to Sam and I was like, he thinks I should do it, but I know he's interested in me. And he was like, you should do it. You'll work all the time. And he's like, and I'm also playing Wilbur the pig. So I'd be your pet pig. So Sam and David in that first, and Roy Hine, who I met at the Wagon Wheel.
Yeah.
I really feel like I owe another rest in peace. I owe my reigniting of my passion for theater to Roy at the Wagon Wheel.
Of course, let's circle around to the Jeff Awards. You're nominated for 1776, and you've been a winner in the past. Tell me about the 1776. It was an interesting all-gender production. You were in a male-presenting role. So I'm curious, first of all, how that audition process was. Did you know you were going in for that role? But then also, unfortunately, didn't get a chance to see it. But I heard wonderful things. In fact, I had a conversation with one of my guys on the way to a gig, and we were chatting about it, and they said, yeah, there's nobody here in town who could have played that role other than Heidi Kettenring. And I was thinking, that's an interesting statement because it's a male role, usually in a male-dominated show. Not that they were wrong, but it was you have an impact with artists like that here in town.
That's really nice.
So I'm curious about that process, starting from the audition, if you happen to know that was what you were being seen for, and from there forward.
Yeah, I did. I mean, when they announced that they were doing the show, there was no, it didn't say, 1776, the original way, or 1776, the new way, or whatever, because when it was on Broadway, it was all female presenting and non-binary.
Right.
So there was a lot of questions about, are we doing that version? Are they doing the original all male, all white, to the two women who play the two female parts?
Right.
And this was neither of those. This was, there were no rules as far as gender, racial identity, nothing.
Yeah.
And so when I was called in for both John Adams and John Dickinson. So they didn't even have the audition breakdown. If I remember correctly, I could be getting this wrong. The only roles that were gendered specifically were Martha and Abigail, that they were going to be a female presenting or non-binary. There wouldn't be a male presenting person playing those roles. If I remember that correctly. Forgive me, Marriott and Nick Bowling, if I'm getting that wrong. But every other role said, all genders, all races, all ages, And I had every intention of auditioning for both of them, but there's sort of a long story to this that I won't get into. But ultimately, I didn't have the time. All of a sudden, things in my life were I wasn't going to be available, and then I was available. So I had only worked on the Adams stuff when the audition rolled around, but I knew that I fit Dickinson better. And I don't really know why I thought that, but I just did. So I auditioned for Adams. So when the offer came in, there was a little bit of like we hope you're not. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I actually don't want to play John Adams. That's a mountain that right now I don't really want to climb, but also it doesn't speak to me. This guy does.
Wow.
And my audition for that was all over Zoom because I was doing a production of Equus in Pennsylvania, so I was not at home.
Yeah.
So I was delightfully shocked to do it, and I would put it in my top 5 roles I've ever gotten to do.
Wow, that's saying something.
I loved playing John Dickinson.
And as I said, people loved you as John Dickinson, so congratulations on the nomination. I can't wait to see how they all shake out.
Thank you.
So
Me too.
how important do you feel the Jeffs are to the Chicago theater landscape, and particularly to the artists here? Do you feel like it's a necessary thing to obtain to have a successful career, or do you think, no, not so much, you can do it on your own merits?
Yeah, I don't think that it's necessary for your career. I think that what I love about the Jeffs, what's interesting about the Jeff Awards is that, when you talk about the Tony Awards, there are definitely things that are nominated that have closed by the time the Tonys roll around. But quite often, like, if something doesn't get Tony nominations, it's going to close. If something doesn't win, it may close. Tony wins ensure usually that a show will go on. It changes the careers of the people who are nominated. And the difference here is that every single show is closed when the Jeff Awards roll around. So the Jeffs, they're not necessary as far as hyping the shows that are happening to keep them going.
Yeah.
What I love about them is that it is an opportunity to celebrate the year that we have had and the artists that we have. And like one of the things that I find really enjoyable that I wish more theaters would do, and I try to encourage if I'm nominated at a theater that doesn't do this as much, is like when you have a theater company, for example, they all sit together. The shows those groups all sit together, and when their shows are being mentioned, celebrated, the cheers that erupt, and those shows may have happened a year ago.
Yeah.
And then there are theaters for which that doesn't happen because, there's such big entities that it's too complicated. But I think I have started to be like, at least, there's 7 of us nominated from this show. We should all go together. Let's go early. We'll get seats together. A lot of people call it like the theater prom. And in a lot of ways, it does feel like that because, some people leave happy. Some people don't leave as happy. For some people, it's a necessary thing that you go do. For some people, it's something that they look forward to all year.
Yeah.
And so for that, I think that it's wonderful because it is, it really is. It is a celebration of Chicago theater. And I love the fact that it's going to be in a theater in downtown Chicago this year so that people who can't drive, don't drive. One of the things that this city's theater community thrives on is that everybody can do it. And all of these storefront theaters that are in the city, more people, I think, who wouldn't necessarily be able to go when it's 25 miles outside of the city are going to be able to come. I sadly am not going to be able to come because I'm not going to be in town.
Yeah.
But I think it's wonderful. Now, as far as like careers, I've won a Jeff Award. That year was probably after I won that Jeff Award, I couldn't get hired. It was like one of those years I was like, but I have my Jeff Award, and it, like it's wonderful. And, I think this year is maybe my 12th nomination. And it's such an honor and so wonderful. Did it change my career, no. I mean, it took me, I don't think I won that Jeff Award until maybe, well, it was in my 40s. So, and I
Oh,
was working pretty consistently before that. So
yeah. And what was the win for? I'm sorry, I don't
The
think I
King
did.
and I at the Marriott Lincolnshire.
Oh, how wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
On my mom's birthday. It was a very special day.
that's so
Yeah.
sweet. We're gonna try this year at the Jeff Awards. I reached out to the Jeffs to see if I could do a live stream from the red carpet this year. Since
Oh,
I just got
fun.
this thing up and running, I was like, yeah, we're gonna see how this goes. So like my wife and I are prepping all of like the ring light. We're gonna just try it and see how it goes. And my followers may drop me like a hot potato, or they may not. But
Oh, no, I love that.
it's going to be fun trying. Yeah. So I'm sorry we'll miss you, but I'm glad we
I
have this
know.
opportunity to chat. So
I know.
we're going to try something on the podcast today that I've never done before.
Yes.
I'm calling the lightning round.
Oh, okay.
It's just series of questions. Just, first answer that pops into your head. The first
Yes.
few are going to be these silly Chicago arguments that people have had for years. And
Right.
the rest you may need to think about for another hot minute, and that's okay.
Okay.
So first question, deep dish or thin crust or tavern style, however you want to call it.
Thin crust. Lou Malnati's butter, thin crust.
Cubs or White Sox?
Don't care.
Don't care. Fine. What's your favorite spot for post-show gathering? Like a watering hole or something like that you like to go
You
to?
know what? I don't have one. I'm on my couch. I mean, back in the day, it was a place called Tunes on Southport.
Okay.
But we don't go there anymore.
That's good. What TV show, album, podcast, or book are you currently enjoying?
Ooh, Department Q on Netflix is
Okay.
one of the best television shows I've seen in a very long time. The finale episode was spectacular.
Okay.
Department Q, Netflix.
Okay. So letter Q?
The letter Q.
Okay.
It stars Matthew Good, who, if people aren't, it's a British sort of detective drama, and Matthew Good plays Lady Mary's second husband on Downton Abbey, the one with the
Okay.
cars. He's not in the movie apparently because the new movie because he's very busy. But her current husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look out for it.
The book, I just finished listening to Jeff Hiller's book, Actress of a Certain Age. Jeff Hiller plays Joel on Somebody Somewhere, which was a wonderful HBO series that was shot in Bridget. Why is Bridget's last name escaping me? Anyway, Somebody Somewhere on HBO. It's his delightful memoir, and I am reading an Emily Henry book called Great Big Beautiful Life, which I'm loving. Oh, and my favorite podcast right now is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Wiser Than Me, where she interviews old women.
Oh, is that a new one for her? Because didn't she have another one?
No, I want to say this is maybe 3 years old.
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's
sorry.
just magnificent. It's beautiful interviews with, Bonnie Raitt and Isabel Allende. And I mean, just, it's wonderful.
Cool. I'll be on the lookout for that one as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about the Jeffs.
Yes.
Tonys, Oscars, Emmys, or Grammys?
Tonys.
What piece of advice that you've ever gotten do you like to offer other aspiring theater artists?
Oh, gosh. So many, but one of them is auditions. That's your opportunity to be an actor today. They want you as much as you want to be wanted. And it's your opportunity to be an actor today. So do as your work before you walk in the room, because if you don't book it, you got to be an actor today. It sounds weird because I know that the goal is to get a job, but it's also, that's part of it.
Yeah.
And also you're enough, you're enough. It sounds so like, I don't know, not trite, but like, it's the truth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then finally, anything that we did not cover that you would like to tell our listeners about?
No, I mean, here's the thing. I love Chicago. I went to Northwestern. I stayed. I wasn't an actor for a while. I get asked all the time why I never moved to New York. Did you ever move to New York? Did you want to move to New York? And the answer is no. Maybe I would have, but the fact that I stepped into theater in Chicago and I have abjectly loved it. And I've had some fancy jobs that I got from here and I did them and I came back. Yeah. I love it here. And the fact that this is that we've talked about the Jeffs as well, it's a community that is proud enough to have their own awards ceremony, and to celebrate what we do. But I love it here. I love that people, when I do shows out of town, can say, I can tell you're a Chicago actor. And they don't say it snidely. They usually say it with like because you're good, because you work hard. And that's what they know of our city. And it's the truth.
I love that. There was a video that I saw right before I started this podcast. Somebody was interviewing Nick Offerman.
Yes.
And they joked, they would say, oh, Nick Offerman does Chicago. He was like, yeah, Chicago actors are the best actors in the world. They, exactly to your point, he said they work hard. They're no bullshit. They're a community. They support each other. And I literally took that reel and I threw it up on my Instagram and I said, and this is why we are starting the Chicago Theater Makers podcast, because this is the feeling about Chicago actors, not just from the people who are here, but the people who have moved on still hold that affinity for Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, was it just this year at the Tonys when, there was a whole shout out? Now I'm going to get it all wrong, but
I don't remember.
One of the big winners was, I believe maybe it was a Steppenwolf transfer even, but it was just like a whole love letter to Chicago. It was a Steppenwolf show. My brain is not working today, but it was a show that transferred to New York and they won. And there were some of the actors who didn't get to come because there were sort of more A-list New Yorkers who got some of those roles. And that person named off all of those Chicago actors that didn't get to go with the show and said, thank you for the respect and the hard work and the just honoring this great craft of theater that we are all so lucky to make. And that is what Chicago is to me, be it if you're doing theater or if you're doing on-camera work. There's just such a desire to honor the craft of telling stories that I love so much.
I agree very much. Tell our listeners where they can find you online.
I don't have a website or anything. I am on Instagram, Pahada, P-A-H-A-D-A-H, and I'm on Facebook. I am currently in Brunswick, Maine, doing this play in Lewiston, Maine. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty yet to talk about what is coming up, but I can say that I am going on tour with something starting 2 weeks from yesterday.
Fantastic.
So perhaps 2 weeks from yesterday, I can post the picture with my little, I mean, there are probably 100 people at this point who know because I've told them, but
oh, sure. And if my memory serves, that show will be coming back to Chicago sometime next year, won't it?
You are correct.
Okay. Well, we won't
Happy
say
Thanksgiving.
And it will be. Heidi, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. And hopefully someday I'll meet David. I've never met David.
I told him that he couldn't come inside while I was doing this. He's just outside the window.
That's okay. But also, I have to say, my wife and I did see Marriott's Titanic, and it was stunning. The entire show.
And wasn't he wonderful?
I had Peter and Peter from the Marriott on a few weeks ago, and I just could not stop saying how wonderful the entire production was. The ensemble just worked together. Again, this Chicago mindset of like ensemble work, everybody just committing to it. And in that space, you kind of have to, because you can't hide anywhere. And just the design element, like, again, this is like a Marriott thing that we touched on. You hear the show that they're going to do and you go, well, how are they going to make a ship sink at the Marriott? And that was kind of in that camp. And I was pleasantly surprised. And my wife and I walked out of there and, I had a few friends in it as well. Really just beautifully staged, beautiful performances.
Thank you. And it's actually another reason I'm sad that I don't get to go to the Jeffs is that the two things that I'm honored for are among two of my favorite things I've ever gotten to do. Because that one was singing Sail On, Great Ship Titanic with that group of people, with that orchestra, under that music direction, with Conor Gallagher staging. I mean, the whole thing. Yeah. Turning out to the audience and singing that was every night was just like you wanted to cry getting to do that. It was a real thrill.
One of the more beautiful and kind of underrated anthems in Broadway canon, I think. It's really a beautiful score. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will let you go. Thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC, and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, shytheatermakerspodcast.com. That's CHITHEATER, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.